Broadcast from the capital, Juba. My name is Emmanuel Joseph Akile, and it's Tuesday, the 21st of January 2025, coming to 15 minutes now after the hour of 7. Now, in the second hour of the dawn, we are going to talk about peace building, reconciliation, forgiveness, and also we will talk about the current affairs, implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, as well as the ongoing resumption of the Tumaini Peace Initiative. My guest in the studio is Archbishop of Northern Bahr al Ghazal State, Internal Province of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan, Moses Dengbol, and he's also a peace envoy from South Sudan Council of Churches. It's good to have you with us in the studio here, Archbishop. Welcome to iRadio.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Now let's begin with current affairs and what's happening, especially for started last week when people on social media saw gruesome videos of South Sudanese being allegedly murdered or slaughtered by Sudan armed forces, and this was actually received by protests in some towns across the country and looting of properties of Sudanese, and this created a kind of chaos. And thank God now the situation is calm after authorities did their best actually to actually rescue the situation. What do you make of what happened, Archbishop?
Thank you very much. What happened is a reminder to the South Sudanese of many atrocities that have been committed against them by the government of Sudan. Of course, in the history during slavery and then after independence, of course, you know the time of Anyanya 1, and then during the SPLM war, in which more than 2.5 million people actually lost their lives. And so it has actually reminded, especially those who witnessed the atrocities during the war, that actually that nothing has changed in the mindset of the Sudanese government. Yeah.
And do you think it was right for South Sudanese to protest and loot properties of Sudanese traders?
Well, the reaction was very right, because for any action there will be a reaction. So the reaction by the South Sudanese who have seen their fellow citizens being mistreated in Sudan, reacting by protesting was the right thing. It is a very human thing. And what was not right is the looting of the property, and also the trying to target innocent Sudanese traders and refugees, because they are not the one who have committed the atrocities. It was the Sudanese army. It was very clear. But of course, it did not surprise me, because what the South Sudanese did, they have not just done to the Sudanese. We have been doing it to ourselves. When a Zande killed a Bahari, for example, and this is one Zande who said maybe he's a criminal, he might have taken the drug, and then he went and did something wrong to Bahari. And then everybody will say it is all Zandes, which is not correct. Generalization has always been here, and then revenge, and also revenging on somebody who is innocent. The fact that I'm a Dinka does not mean that the decisions taken by other Dinkas, I am part of it. And this is what we have been doing, so it did not surprise me.
And what role can, to bring in the church or religious leaders, what role can you play in such situation?
Well, we have actually been trying to educate the people through the pulpit to say that if somebody has done wrong, that person should be held accountable individually. You cannot say it is done by everybody that was not part of the decision. And really, we are hoping that we can carry out a very systematic civic education so that people know what to do in such a situation.
And with what happened in Sudan, how best do you think can South Sudanese be protected and be safe in Sudan amid this ongoing war there?
To me, I think there are two ways in which South Sudanese can be protected in Sudan. Number one is where the risk is high. South Sudanese should be evacuated by their own government, which actually has not been done, so that they are taken to safe places. Number two is to ensure that South Sudanese do not take side in the Sudanese war, because one of the implications, which is not a justification, is that both sides accuse South Sudanese of being part of the other armed group. Of course, that cannot justify the killing we have seen in Madani, because there are conventions. Even if you find, of course, we know most of those who were killed in Madani, actually all of them are civilians. They are people who work in the bricklaying. I have worked in bricklaying myself. I have worked on the Nile. Chokol Bitatu, Madani. Those people who were working there, I know them, they are civilians. There are no soldiers who work in that area. I have worked in the farm myself, cutting H or the sorghum. I have worked in the Simsim in Magenis. I have worked in Alobait, a place called Divivat, in making the full, the groundnuts. It's called Nus. So those are civilians. So and killing them is not the best way. But the way to protect them is to make sure that they are evacuated and they are taken to safe places, and then the issue of making sure that they don't take sides in the conflict of the Sudanese.
And after what happened, the government of South Sudan, through Foreign Affairs Ministry, summoned the ambassador Karar of Sudan, and confirming that the investigation is ongoing after Al-Burhan actually formed a committee to investigate. So how long do you think this or how soon do you want to see the outcome of the investigation? Because this is what the people of South Sudan are waiting for.
To be sincere, my brother, that investigation is just a joke. To me, it is simply just showing us putting our eyes on the wall. Nothing will come out of that. Simply because, as I said earlier, the Sudanese believe that South Sudanese are slaves. So they are habit. So the people who were killed, they were just killing slaves. What is the big deal? These are your slaves. They are working for you. You have decided to kill them. What is it that is a big deal there? They have not done. This is not the first time they have done it. They have been doing it in several times, in several locations. It was done in Wau. It was done here in Juba. Has been done in Khartoum. It was done in Babanusa, in many other areas. And South Sudanese have been slaughtered, and nothing happens. So this was just a way of covering up to show that they are doing something. There is nothing is going to come out of that, my brother.
Now let's look at the how can the two people of South Sudan and Sudan live in peaceful coexistence in both countries, given the history that the two Sudan were once one country, Bishop?
Well, the best way to live peacefully in coexistence are two things. You respect one another, and then the two citizens living in the two countries should respect the constitutions, the laws of those countries. But as I said earlier, it will be South Sudan that will actually respect the Sudanese citizens in South Sudan, as we have already seen it, the way the South Sudanese government protected the Sudanese citizens. But Sudan, it will take a very long time for them to change and respect the South Sudanese, because number one, there is a historical belief that these are slaves. And believe it or not, everything is attached to belief systems. Everything you see people doing, it goes back to what they believe, what they have been taught when they were children. And to make the matter worse, the South Sudanese didn't believe that we can actually manage our own country. You have heard the statement that somebody in Sudan said South Sudanese will just kill themselves if they are given a country. They need us. And indeed that happened. When we were given our own country, we ended up killing ourselves, and actually we ended up going back. You have heard the villages, they were called Malej Bashir. People went back And we did not go back as proud South Sudanese who have managed our own country well. We went back as people who have run out of our own country. And we said, sorry, Bashir, we made a mistake. So they have no value for us. And you cannot say we respect each other, I respect you, if I don't value you, if I see you as slaves. So the mentality, the mindset of the Sudanese must change. And that will only change if we manage our country well in terms of good governance, and actually we do our own economy. So that when we go there like Sudanese who are coming here. Most of them are coming here to do business. We are going there to work for them as slaves or laborers. So how do you think this person will respect you, honestly? You cannot.
And let me take you back a little bit, Bishop, about the protest. And this is something in this era has been happening in so many countries. You see what happened in Kenya with the Gen Zs. And most of these young people actually resort to social media to group themselves and plan for protests. Now, this is something that many people are saying it was actually it was a tool that was used here in South Sudan for the protest. So how responsible can South Sudanese, especially young people, use social media responsibly actually to promote peace, business, instead of actually instigating violence?
Well, the best way that social media can be used responsibly is to use it for advertisement, use it for education, because nowadays there is a lot of information on the social media that you can learn from. But you know, the young people also have to be guided. Young people do not take a right direction alone. From 2005, I knew that if nothing changes, there will be a problem 10 years, 15 years down the line. I think I have a gift of vision, seeing what will happen in the long run. Maybe that God has given me that. I knew for sure, because in Kenya there was a program called Youth Enterprise Development Fund and the Women Enterprise Development Fund. What this fund was to do is to give a capital to young people who have a good initiative so that they can do a business. And in the process, they benefit themselves, but also they benefit the country in many ways. First of all, they employ some other young people. Number two, they give taxes to the government. Number three, they control economy. Because right now, the economy is being controlled by foreigners. And by the way, these protests will not end. As long as we have majority of the young people without jobs and without opportunities, without skills. I have seen in Kenya, I started watching elections in Kenya in 2002. And as always, there are some chaos during elections. Kenyans have never gone through a war that we have gone through. They don't have the trauma that we have here. Most of them are educated. Most of them know the rule of law. What in South Sudan, where majority of the population are traumatized, and we have gone, most of us are armed.
Level of literacy also.
When we go for and level of literacy is very low, and when we go for elections, there will be protests. And if you have most of the shops run by foreigners, and the population they have no jobs and they are hungry, what do you expect? Do you expect them to use social media irresponsibly? If they were given the capital, as I said, and skills, these vocational training centers, you put there thousands of young people, give them food to eat, and then let them be trained on how to build roads, how to build houses, how to do farming, how to start businesses, and then give them capital through the program that I said here. You would see them using social media now to advertise their products, their services, because they have them. But now they don't have. So they will use social media to mobilize so that they can go and loot.
And with the protection of Sudanese nationals here during the protest, what we saw was actually authorities in South Sudan responded positively and did a very good job, especially the security apparatus or the organized forces in protecting Sudanese here, despite the challenges they have been facing, especially the issue of salary arrears for months now. But they did their part as nationalists. Do you agree with that?
Well, I do agree that any foreigner who lives in the territory of South Sudan need the protection from the South Sudanese government, and they did a good job by protecting the Sudanese and their properties. We appreciate that, but also they did something that was not good. They also abused, they committed human rights abuses against South Sudanese, which actually reinforce two things that need to be removed from South Sudan. Number one, because we have been in war for many years, it has reached to the level where soldiers feel that they are the only valuable people. The citizens are nothing. You will hear a soldier saying, the Moson Sagi. That language must go away from South Sudan. Because into that too, you are Moson. How did you become a soldier? If you become a soldier and you are not Moton, then you are a mercenary. That is why the South Sudanese who are involved in the Sudanese conflict are called mercenaries. Mercenaries are people who are not citizens. Moton means citizen. And for you to be a soldier, you must be a citizen first. Secondly, when you retire, I know people are not retiring now in the army, but there will be a time when people will retire. You will have to go back to be a citizen. So this idea that citizens are nothing must stop.
Right.
Your duty is to protect, first of all, the citizen of South Sudan, even before you take this, to protect the Sudanese citizen.
Right.
The Sudanese citizens do not have more rights than the citizen of South Sudan. These are people who are reacting to what has been done to them, and you need to protect the Sudanese, but also don't abuse them.
Right. Let's go for this short break now, and from there we will be talking about the Tumaini Peace Initiative.
إنهاء العنف القائم على النوع الاجتماعي هو جهد مجتمعي وواسع النطاق. لما يقف الرجال كحلفاء فإنهم بيساعدوا في خلق مجتمع أكثر أمانا وقوة للجميع. وقفوا معنا متضامنين لخلق مستقبل على ما بيكون فوق تعرض بتاع أي شخص مرة أخرى العنف بسبب جنسه. ما قيمة بتاع الحياة واحدة، كل شيء يستثمروا في سلام بتاع البنات. رسالة دي بجالتكم من وزارة الصحة في جنوب السودان.
iRadio, for reliable and objective news from across South Sudan and beyond. Tune in to iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. iRadio, for news you can rely on from across South Sudan and beyond.
Good morning. It's iRadio.
Yes, welcome back from the break. It's now 28 minutes to the top of the hour. You're still listening to the Dawn program here on iRadio. And my guest in the studio is Archbishop of Northern Bahr al-Ghazal State Internal Province of the Episcopal Church of South Sudan, Moses Dengbol. He's also a peace envoy from South Sudan Council of Churches. And we're talking about peace envoy. He's one of the stakeholders in the ongoing Tumaini Peace Initiative, which resumed yesterday. So, Archbishop, where are we from the Tumaini Peace Initiative? And I understand yesterday they started with the consultations we saw on social media, where the mediators met with the government delegation and also the opposition, but we did not see stakeholders so far. So where are we from Tumaini?
Well, we got an update from our colleagues, members of stakeholders yesterday, that the talks has resumed on Monday, and they began with a consultation between the mediation and the government delegation. And then the consultation also between the opposition and the mediation, and then the two parties were brought together in the afternoon. So the talks have begun, and it was a good thing actually that they have the government delegation has gone back, and now the talks have resumed. But from what we've got, not much progress has been made so far, and most of the stakeholders were not there. We have just received the invitation to return back on Wednesday from the chief mediator. Tomorrow, yes. Yeah.
And what are we expecting to be discussed after the resumption? Where it stopped actually?
Well, the sticky point that was there during when the talks were adjourned was actually the relationship. The main point was the relationship between RXS and the Tumaini. So that was, I think that is where the talks now will begin.
And talking about relationships, isn't it like going to reopen the initial protocols already?
Well, that is where the challenge was, because the government was saying they have seen that there are some things they do not agree with in the initial protocols, and so they wanted them to be renegotiated or reopened. But the opposition were saying that is not possible. They don't want them to be renegotiated. So that is where the challenge was.
And was there a clear position of the stakeholders as well? Or were just observers?
Well, we are not observers. We are saying what we want is peace, is a peace agreement, whatever the name. We really don't mind about whether it is called RXS or Tumaini, as long as it brings peace to the people of South Sudan. What we want is to bring our brothers who are outside here, and not only the people who are in Tumaini. We actually want even our brothers who are not yet part of Tumaini, like General Thomas Chirilo, General Simon Gadwich. We want them to come, and then we can agree on whatever the name it is, as long as we will continue to implement the pending task or the ongoing task of our access. And where there is a gap, then we fill the gap with Tumaini or whatever the name you will give it, and then we have peace. So the most important thing for us is peace, so that South Sudanese can enjoy peace and build their country, so that they don't have to go away and be slaughtered like chickens, the way we are being slaughtered in Medina.
Right, and Bishop, also there's a concern from many South Sudanese, especially even the listeners of iRadio, about not being so much optimistic about Tumaini. They're saying it is just another way, another continuation of the suffering of the people of South Sudan to accommodate the holdout groups, and others are saying also the revitalized peace agreement implementation is low, and people have actually almost lost trust in the agreements after agreements. They want elections. So what would you say in that regard?
Well, actually, this is elections, because if there was fighting and there are different factions fighting, their election will not be credible, and still there will be challenges, there will be conflict. So one of the reasons why we want these brothers who are outside to come in is so that we are all here, and then we go for elections without having to see there is armed opposition fighting the government at the same time when we are going for elections. Because those elections will have challenges as well. And there will also be general disarmament of civilians. With armed rebel or armed groups being in the bushes, it will be very difficult for the government to disarm civilians. So it is part of actually elections.
And someone who has been in Tumaini for months, Archbishop, in your view, how best can the talks really end successfully? Because people talked about giving gifts to the people of South Sudan for Tumaini to end peacefully or successfully in December, which did not happen, stalled, and now it resumed yesterday. So how best can this process end successfully this time around?
The best way is for both the parties and the stakeholders really to put the country first. Because what people are really struggling over is positions. And what is behind positions is resources. We all know this. And there are South Sudanese who have sacrificed themselves. They have left their positions, not because they don't deserve them. There is no position that belongs to anybody in this country. These positions, they all belong to South Sudanese. And any South Sudanese have a right to hold any position, right from the president to the cleaner. They are all our positions. But there are some people who have felt a country is more important than myself, so I will put the interest of the country first. So really the best way, because the best way we can end this successfully is to put our country first, so that we don't become a laughing stock of the whole world. To
end Tumaini successfully.
Exactly.
Right. Bring us about 21 minutes to the top of the hour. It's now time to pick few calls on 0911 or 22-986-986. So preferably you can also drop your comment or question there on our Facebook page. iRadio.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is me, David Magog from WOW.
David Magog from WOW. Welcome.
Let me welcome your guest to the studio. And that is our bishop of the people of Wow, and he's Archbishop of Northern Barista. I have two questions to him. Number one, what is the reason why do the whole government, including the church, run after those who have rebelled against the government without giving service to the citizens? Now you have seen the government, national unity, is doing nothing to the people. He's not even respecting chapter 1 to restore salaries. He's not even giving good education, even treatment. There are no medicine in hospital, and so forth. When will the government of South Sudan going to work for the citizen of this nation? This is number one. Number two, the citizen and their currency are losing value. They are not even being valuable. If you go now to all the business center, the number one person in the country are the foreigners at the church. Why don't you talk to the politicians of this country to forgive each other and have compromise, to accommodate everybody and give peace a chance, so that we'll go for election to choose the people who is going to serve us? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, David Magog. iRadio.
Good morning, Emmanuel Joseph Akile.
Yes, good morning.
And good morning to the Bishop.
Yes.
Morning to you.
Yeah, thank you.
James Dor.
Jamie Dor, yes. I would like to ask Bishop with three questions. One, you know very well how was this peace agreement started. It started in 2015 when it was signed in Juba here, and people say, especially the incumbent government by then, they say they were forced to sign the agreement in Juba, which were not their will. And as a result, it broke up in 2016. And again, 2018 peace agreement, they said they were forced to. So now people are also negotiating the same peace agreement that is going to be enforced on them. Do you think this government will implement that agreement if it is signed, if you push for it and it's signed? Will they really make it implemented? Will it not look like the Haga previous agreement that imposed on them according to them? This is one. Number two, what are the positions of the stakeholders, civil societies, women in the peace negotiation? Because now there is already tensions. Though it is going to be signed, there will be no implementation for it. Do you really hope this peace will really create a new phase to South Sudanese politics, or will it continue as usual as people pulling rope here and there? The last question is, how are we as South Sudanese? Our position as citizens of this country, as you expressed some good point before on the slaughtering on our people in Sudan. So how should we really put ourselves as South Sudanese that have one agenda, common agenda for the nation building? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. We have a number of questions. The time is we're running out of time. Let's come back to our guest in the studio. Archbishop, you can respond to these few questions from David Magog from WOW and James Dor from University of Juba. Yes, welcome.
Thank you very much. David Magog was asking about why do we run after people who have rebelled, and instead of the government of South Sudan delivering services to the people or to the citizen.
Yes.
Well, the reason why the government and also stakeholders want to bring our brothers who are opposition to the government back is because we want peace. I said earlier, you cannot even deliver services if there is no peace. So the peace is paramount. So what we want is not just the people. It's because we want peace in our country. Now, coming to the issue of why the government of South Sudan is not delivering services to the people, as they were promised, by the way, during the liberation struggle for 21 years, South Sudanese fought because there was a hope that there will be delivering of services if we get our country. But that one is a question to be answered by the government. Honorable Michael McQuay is there to answer why they are not delivering the services to the people. Maybe you can invite the government spokesperson to respond to that. The issue of citizen losing value, it is very true. Very, very true. And it is very unfortunate. I don't expect the economy to be controlled by people from other countries. What usually happens, the government protects at least what we call small businesses. The foreigners can do investment. But in South Sudan, where in my village, The people owning shops there are people from other countries. Well, how do you think these people will value you? So what can be done is to empower citizens economically. It still goes back to the government, because government can do capital by giving them. Actually, it was done in Sudan some time back. There was what they call it. There is a name I will remember later. But this is where citizens were given materials cheap at a cheaper price to go and sell them, and then they make profit so that they can at least own businesses. So that one has to be done, whether it is now or in the future, so that at least our citizens, and then they given skills through vocational training. The Magog said also, why don't you talk to politicians as bishops or church leaders or religious leaders? Let me tell you this, Magog. Politicians don't listen to people who have no power. In South Sudan, the person whom politicians listen to now is a general, because our politicians who are here, they believe in violence. They believe in gun. In other countries where there is a democracy, politicians listen to bishops or church leaders because they know the bishops have a lot of people who will vote for them. And they know without a bishop, they cannot come to power. So until we go to elections where we are using democracy, no politician in South Sudan will listen to bishop. They are still listening to generals because generals can shoot them. And we don't have guns to shoot them. Then coming to my brother James Dor, he's saying, do you think this agreement will be implemented? Yes, I believe so, because we want the South Sudanese the way they must own. If the agreement is to be implemented, it must be owned by the people of South Sudan. During the 2005 agreement, the CPA, Dr. John Garang made a very powerful statement. He said every Sudanese should read, understand, and own the CPA. Why? Because without you owning it, the government cannot implement it. They will implement it selectively. What suit them is what they will implement. Like recently, when they were doing extension, the extension was implemented in 1 week. Why? Because that is for their interest. What about you as a citizen? You must also push for your interests. The government is pushing for their interests. The position of the stakeholders in the peace talks is that we want peace. We want an agreement to be reached, even if it is not perfect, because we must come together as people of South Sudan to build our country. And that is actually what we aim. The nation building must be done by all of us. None of us should be left out. And that is why we really want agreement to be reached. Thank you.
Yes, and Angui Ustaz here wrote on our Facebook, Archbishop, he said, this Tumaini initiative is another waste of our resources. Why are our leaders not believing? Why are they not believing in themselves first?
Well,
talk about resources.
Well, the Tumaini, anything that is going to peace, to me, is not a waste of resources. But the question is, why do we have always to have talks in other countries? You know, Kenyans have had conflict. They have forced violent election, post-election violent in 2007. And they always sit in Nairobi. And even if they have an external person to facilitate, they always do it in their own country. Why don't we engage in dialogue here in South Sudan? And that is actually leading to the question, why don't our leaders believe in themselves? That is something that really I believe we South Sudanese need to believe in ourselves, not only the leaders. All of us, South Sudanese, we have that feeling that it is other people who are doing, they are better than us. Just for example, if you now have a Kawaja who is a doctor and is a nurse, and then you have a South Sudanese who is a real doctor, and you Kawaja sit behind and the South Sudanese treat the person I have seen in the village, they complain. that this guy refused to allow me to go to Kawaja if I was treated.
So they prefer the Kawaja to be.
And he doesn't know that the Kawaja is a nurse. South Sudanese has more knowledge than that Kawaja. He's all over. He's not only the leaders. All of us, we have to change our mindset.
Right. Let's pick few calls before we can wind up. iRadio.
Hello.
Yes.
سليمان
تفضل.
كويس. انا داير نسال بيشوب 3 اسئله. السؤال الاول انا داير اتكلم شكرا لانه يعني جاك الاستديو. السؤال الاول انا داير اتكلم كده. عندنا قاده بتاعنا احنا عارفين هم فاسدين، يعني هم فاسدين وهم ما قاعدين نشتغل للبلد. لكن ليدرز الكنيسه دائما بيسال من اجلهم، ربنا كليتا سنادوا ناس ديل كليتا اديهم كده والناس دائما حاجات بتاعل. معلومه ما درس لومن صلاة البسيل مباراه من الناس بتاعنا، لان نعرف كويس ناس زي قاموا حاجات بتاعل في كناس. انا اقول قاعد اسال كده. 1 2 انتخابات اعلنوا قال 2026 وانا ما I'm not think so that اتفاقيه بتتميني ده بيجيبوا سلام في جنوب السودان because our leaders they have no interest for peace in South Sudan. واتفاقيه بتاع peace agreement جروا بتاع و26 بيها قريب. Do you think that election اللي بيعمل دي سنتوسي 2026 ده ولا ما في؟ وحاجه ثانيه الاخير أنا بيعملوا شنو كجنوبين كله عشان بلد تمنا كله يكون زي باقي الدول الثانيين، كان ده سياسيين ولا كان ده مواطنين ولا كان ده جيش ولا أنا بيعملوا شنو؟ كده نرجع دنج الرغبة أنا اللي رابنا ورا ولا أنا لا مش يعني ندوك لايك أنا قلبوا دار أنا كانوا اللي رابنا عشان كده أنا قاعدين في لانا. شكرا.
alright شكرا لك. نرفع مكالمة ثانية. iRadio.
Hello.
Yes.
صباح الخير يا راديو.
صباح النور. منو معنا متصل من وين؟
معك ساندرو دين فوا.
نعم تفضل.
أنا بشكر مطران دانيال لوجوده معكم في الاستوديو، وكمان كان في كينيا هناك عشان كلام بتاع جنوب السودان. أنا ده نسأله سؤال واحد بس، هل وجودك هناك كعبر في إرادة سعيد من جماعة ناس فقان وناس ملون وناس منو عندهم إرادة سعيد؟ إذا كان عندهم إرادة هذا بتعمل شنو؟ لأن أنت موجود هناك يا أبونا، ما نخوش شعب بتاع جنوب السودان صار. لأن أنا سألت كده ليه؟ لأن كل من النفرين ديل كانوا جزء من الحكومة هنا وقاد البلد للقدام، وخصوصا فقان كان أمين عام للحركة الشعبية وما في زول طرده. طيب أنت في النظر بتاعك بكون مشكلة بتاعه شنو مع منو؟ هل مع شعب ولا مع حكومة؟
نعم. alright.
إذا كان هذا السؤال بتاعي بس.
شكرا جزيلا دينغ سانتو. عندنا عدد من الأسئلة من from سليمان talking about some leaders are corrupt and religious leaders continue to pray for them. Why can't you pray for their removal as well so that we get better politicians in the leadership positions? And then he's saying is casting doubts about Tumaini because he's saying people are talking about elections next year. And what can we do as South Sudanese really to be to improve the situation in South Sudan? Yes, Bishop, you can respond to Suleiman and then you go to Deng Santo.
Thank you very much. Suleiman, I want to begin with actually the last question. What can we do as citizens? I like that question because really the expectation that anybody will come to help us as people of South Sudan, whether you are talking of the government here or the UN, IGAD or African Union, without us helping ourselves, is not possible. We always say that God help those who help themselves. The same thing happened with the government. It is the same with the international community. So it has to begin with us. What can we do? Number one, please leave tribalism. This idea of generalization that all you are fighting among the, first of all, beginning with tribes, and then now you go into the tribes, you have sections, you have seen the way we are fighting among ourselves. This is not going to help us. What we need is to unite and demand our rights, and also do our part as citizens. As citizens, we have our rights and we have also responsibilities. So let us take charge of our responsibilities. For example, to make sure that there is no internal intercommunal conflict, because really the main two issues that are threatening South Sudan right now are two. Number one is hunger, which is actually what fueled the looting. What fueled the looting was not really just the Sudanese conflict. It was people were hungry. And secondly is the intercommunal conflict. So we have to stop that.
Right.
And that one is what we need to do as citizens.
Right.
And then we push for our rights. Our right is that we have the right to elect our leaders. They should not be extending themselves. They just sit in a meeting somewhere and they say, we are extending our stay in power for another 2 or 3 years. It must be stopped, and nobody will stop it from outside. It is the South Sudanese who will say, enough is enough. We want to be given an opportunity to elect our leaders.
Right.
But we will not do this if we are not united.
Right.
So,
We have about 4 minutes, so you can put the
okay.
response.
Then the issue of prayer, it is not in the Bible that I pray for somebody to be removed or to die. What Jesus taught us in the Lord's Prayer is pray like this. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth, in South Sudan, as it is in heaven. So my prayer is, can your will be done? Okay? How it will be done? I don't know. Whether it is to remove the person or to even kill them, it is God who knows. So that is what I am guided by the Bible to pray. Now, Deng Santu is saying, what is the objective? What is the objective of General Pagan and Malong? And who does they have a problem with? Is it the citizen or the government? From what I have listened to them, they don't have any problem with the citizen of South Sudan. They have problem with the government. What is the problem? They say there is corruption, there is mismanagement of resources. They even claim that there are no delivery of services to the people. Whether they will do it when they come to the government or they will be like others.
Because he said they were in the same government before.
Yes, and even there are others who were in the government, they went away, and when they were brought in, are they doing it now? We don't know. All we want is to have peace so that we go for election.
Right. So what would be your last message, especially to the government delegation, the opposition, as you will be going to the Tumaini, and also a message of peace and unity among the people of South Sudan, especially today, and as we actually can conclude our conversation this morning?
Number one, let us put our country first. To all the people of South Sudan, let us think of South Sudan as number one. Let us put the interest of our country as number one. Number two, let us develop a culture of peace. Let us believe in dialogue. From now onward, let us resolve our differences through dialogue. Let not anyone believe that it is going to either you resolve the conflict through using the violence. As a church, this is our appeal to all our leaders. Let us believe that dialogue, whether it is in Tumaini or any other dialogue within the community or here in Juba, is the only way forward. With the dialogue is with the aim of reaching consensus so that we build our nation by that strategy. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Archbishop of Northern Bahr al-Ghazal Internal Province, Moses Deng Bol, and Peace Envoy from South Sudan Council of Churches. Thank you for joining us on The Dawn today.
Thank you.
Hope we'll meet there in Tumaini, Nairobi again.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, we have come to the end of The Dawn edition for today. Join us again tomorrow morning, and at the same time. And from tomorrow, Allah Suba Memo will step in for me. We will be trying our best to broadcast the second half of The Dawn live from Nairobi tomorrow. So on behalf of The Dawn team, Paulino Athiei, K-Pesa, Olo Nelson, and producer Charles Wote, this has been Emmanuel Joseph Akile. Do have a great day. Stay blessed. Stay safe. We catch up again tomorrow.